Good afternoon. I want to thank everyone for joining us today. And today we have Beau Breunig, who's an operations manager with our Parks and Recreation Department, and we're going to talk a little bit about our grounds. So Beau, why don't you start and tell us a little bit about your job and your responsibilities?
Well, thank you for having me, Mr. Mayor. I really appreciate it. My responsibilities predominantly fall with our athletics division. I oversee all the maintenance for our athletic fields, court surfaces, and then I also oversee all the setup and outdoor logistics of the special events. And then we also oversee all of our parks, the park maintenance, playgrounds, all that different stuff. A lot of that stuff does fall underneath a separate division that is with Public Works, but predominantly anything that's outside, that's recreation, we're taking care of it.
So this time of year is a particular busy time of year for you.
Extremely, extremely.
Yeah. Can you tell people a little bit about how we go about maintaining our parks, because we don't do it all in-house? You know, how we pick up the trash, how we do some of those things.
Well, we try to do as much in-house as we can, but we do utilize contractors and for such things as mowing. We have a contractor that mows, give or take, 600 plus acres of grass throughout town.
And they do that once a week?
Once a week. Every site gets visited once a week, weather pending, of course. And that includes everything from parks, athletic fields, all of our buildings. People might notice that the dry detention ponds in their backyards also is on that same contract. We also utilize a landscape contractor that goes through a lot of our buildings, our medians, any landscaping, taking care of weeds, litter. They'll trim back the bushes every year. They're also going through our parks now and weeding out all the playgrounds. We see an increase in weeds at this time of year in just the playground areas, in the playground safety surface. They go through and they're working through cleaning that stuff out. And it's really been beneficial because it's allowed our staff to go out and really focus on more of the projects that we want to get done throughout the year.
And this is an important thing to note is that we talked about weeds, and weeds in our playgrounds are pulled by hand. We do not use chemicals in those, correct?
That is correct. We do not use any chemicals on the playgrounds at all. Everything's pulled by hand. Occasionally we have used a vinegar-based product, so it's an all-natural organic product to help prevent them from coming back. But predominantly when they get to a certain growth stage, they all have to be hand-pulled.
Beau, one of the things that you joined the organization about the same time that I became mayor, and we both talked about this, that we were kind of shocked at where we were at as far as fixing our parks, maintaining our parks, and taking care of our parks. That we were well behind on all of that. Let's talk a little bit first about John Humphrey Complex, because I know that's a major renovation we did, because we have three major parks: John Humphrey, Centennial, and Schuylkill Park. Mm-hmm. But we focused first on John Humphrey because it had been the longest since it had been touched. So can you talk a little bit about how that project's gone? And I know that it's opened back up.
Yeah, it just opened back up this spring. We're really excited to get it open and get people back out playing on it. The project started probably 3 years ago now, and we did the sole purpose was to solve the issue of a sinking field number 3, which I'm sure any of the residents out there are well aware of it. And fortunately, because of the attention that it kind of grabbed, we were able to speak with you and the fellow board members, and they said, hey, let's do the whole thing, and let's do it right. And we were able to do the whole complex. Completely regraded it, add new backstops, new dugout fencing. We've remodeled the inside of the concession stand and the bathrooms, expanding those and upgrading all those facilities. Brand new irrigation system, ridiculous amounts of drainage underneath all the grass surfaces at Humphrey, and it's been a really big success. We've had a tournament there. We're going on 4 weekends in a row now. We have 30 tournaments scheduled in total this year in the village, baseball or softball tournaments, and that's the most we've ever had. So it's been really exciting to see that project take shape and see a 25-year-old facility get the upgrades that it's needed.
And one of the things you mentioned is tournaments. And we know that they bring a lot of people to Orland Park, some money in Orland Park. But one thing that's important to note for residents is that the fields first and foremost go to our residents.
Yes.
And so if you can speak to that a little bit about how we prioritize using those fields, whether it's the new John Humphrey or the rest of our fields.
Well, for the most part, our fields, especially in the spring season, when it comes to our baseball, softball fields, the resident organizations definitely get first priority. They predominantly play at Centennial Park, and they fill that park pretty much 7 days a week, all day long on the weekends. And then we have some overflow coming over to Humphrey on the weekends. And then what we've done with OYA and other resident organizations is that we've loaded up a little bit heavier at Centennial. And then we've allowed that, which has freed us up to be able to use John Humphrey for some tournament play. And then as far as pecking order, it's predominantly the organizations that have the most residents on it get the first picks of the field.
Right, and the important thing to note with John Humphrey is it was offline for a number of years.
Yes.
Because of the condition it was in. So we've basically brought 5 new fields online.
Yep. Yes, absolutely.
And so that leads me to our other major parks. So we have Schuessler Park, which we know has some water issues that date back to when I was a kid, and then Centennial Park, which was built in 1993. So obviously it needs some renovation. So can you talk a little bit about the master planning process that we're going through to look at Centennial, Schuessler, and the last portion of John Humphrey, which is on the High Point property?
Yeah, we're really excited about it. We just got it approved at board last week to approve it to White Design Group. They're going to be coming in and they're going to be taking basically a blank slate look at Centennial Park and Schuessler Park. And they're going to give us some different concept ideas, some concept designs of how.
And we know that we have a lot of baseball and softball players. We know that we have a lot of soccer players. Soccer has increased since 1993 when Centennial was put in. So we're looking at all of those things. We also have lacrosse. The other thing that we've had since the mid-'70s is we've had football. But we've never had a facility that was actually built for football. We were shoehorning them into baseball fields and those types of things. So can you talk a little bit about how we've asked White and Company to look and make sure that we have an area that can handle football, which obviously an off football season can be used for other field sports as well, so it adds field sport space, but also how we're looking at some of the other newer sports that are coming out?
Well, I think it's one of the biggest keys through the whole process that we're going to go through with this master planning is going to be our community outreach. We are asking them to essentially start with a statistically valid survey of our community and find out what the community is looking for. We want to look at lacrosse. Lacrosse is growing faster and faster and faster. Soccer continues to grow. Football is got long history here in the village, and that needs to be maintained. And as you said, we need a facility for that as well. And I'm really excited to see where that goes. I'm really excited to see what they're going to present with us.
And one of the important things that people may not realize is that area between Payless Immediate Care, as well as what is now being used as the practice facility for the Pioneers for the time being. That area in between is actually our land.
It is.
And will be included as part of this plan. So there is more space that we have available to us to add fields. So it's not like we have to necessarily subtract other fields to make these fields to add more capacity.
Yes, that's 100% correct. Again, we're really excited to see what they come up with. They could come up with a plan that bulldozes everything and we start over and phase it in accordingly. They may see some features that they really, really like that we want to keep. And beyond the sports, they're going to take a big look at Lake Sedgwick. That's a great feature that we have here in the village, and how we can utilize that asset to better serve the residents.
Yeah, I think that's great. And one of the other things that we noticed, that you and I both noticed when we got here, is that we were fixing one park about every 2 years, and we bulldozed the park essentially and start over. Even if equipment was in good shape, we'd take it out and we just put in new stuff. Well, that's very expensive.
It is.
And which is why we're only doing one every 2 years. And with the over 60 parks, that's over 120 years. Our grandkids won't even be alive when we get to the last park. So obviously that doesn't work. So we're taking a different approach. Can you talk a little bit about the approach we're taking now And I know that last year alone, we were able to get 18 tennis courts and basketball courts resurfaced, 7 major renovations. I think we had 7 or 8 pavilions put up as well. If we were able to do that in 1 year, we did expand the money we were putting into. We doubled it, but instead of getting 2 parks done, we got into all of those parks. Can you explain a little bit about how we're doing that going forward to all of the other outlying parks?
Yeah, I mean, you hit it right on the head. Traditionally, we would pick 1 or 2 parks a year, and it had been one, we bulldoze it and start over. But with the added funding and just some different, a different outlook on things, we were able to sprinkle these improvements all over. So instead of just focusing on 1 park, 1 neighborhood, we would take a look at this. We had an assessment done, which called out all of our immediate needs at all of our parks. We were then able to take that assessment and evaluate and assign the funding to it and say, okay, we're going to take care of this 2 to 5 play structure. Then we're going to go across town and we're going to take care of this pavilion because that is really in bad shape. And then we're going to go over here and, oh man, this backstop and baseball field is in really bad shape. We got to take care of that. And we've did that around town with courts, the playground surfaces, again, the pavilions. And we're continuing along the same method, and it ranges from everything from a complete playground renovation to we're going to replace some small structures to a pavilion to a bench, but all around town we're using that assessment as a guide to help improve the facilities, improve the structures, but the entire community is going to see those improvements, not just one neighborhood every year.
And one of the important things, too, that we've put in place in the last year is that now, through our Recreation Advisory Board, which has been in place for a long time, but frankly didn't do a whole lot in the past, one of the things we've asked them to do is to start advising us on what we're going to do in these individual neighborhood parks. And part of that is a public meeting where those neighborhoods are notified so that they can come give their input. How has that been working?
That's been working really good. We really are getting some good feedback. We're really starting to hear what the residents are looking for out of their parks. But I think most importantly, the residents are informed. So when crews show up to do the work and they start tearing stuff down or they start digging a hole, there's no guessing about what's going on. We've had the meetings and they've had their input and they know exactly what's coming. They know they know why that hole is being dug or why this playground is being removed, and I think that communication aspect of it is, and getting the residents informed and getting their feedback has been very successful so far, and I don't anticipate that changing at all. I think that's going to make all of our projects going forward just that much smoother and that much more accepted throughout the community.
And of course, that feedback, what we found is not everyone's going to be happy with the decisions that are made, but there's a 13-member Recreation Advisory Board that advises the Village Board, then the Village Board makes those decisions. So in some of those cases, it's 20 people plus staff, so 23 or 24 people that all agree that this is the approach we should take. And yes, some of the people, you can't make everyone happy with every decision, clearly. There's
Sure.
always people that have differences of opinion. But I will say that one of the things that we have noticed from these feedback sessions is we have changed our plans based on feedback from
Absolutely.
the neighborhoods when it's appropriate and when the points are valid and when they want different things. We have done things. We've not put fences in. We've put soccer goals in. We've done some things to help meet the needs of those neighborhoods.
Absolutely, and I think just in the most recent Rec Advisory Board meeting, Mike Mazza and Public Works Director Joel Van Essen presented their actual playground renovations at the Rec Advisory Board, basically provided 2 options. We were getting feedback from those residents. We were getting feedback from, I want to say 6 or 7 kids that were in the audience that night, telling us which playgrounds they liked better. And I tell you, some of the kids changed the minds of the Rec Advisory Board because, I mean, hey, the kids are the ones that are using it, and
Right.
They gave us some fantastic feedback. And the process has been great so far. I'm excited to see where it goes, especially as we get into these bigger projects.
That's great. Well, to wrap this up, I'm going to ask you a hard softball question. What's your favorite event that we put on in the summer for you personally?
My favorite event. That's a good one. I love the concerts. I love 4th of July. I love the taste. It's the most work, but it puts everything that we're about right out in front. When it comes to because that week of the taste, we have the taste going on, we have the concerts going on. It showcases what our staff does from village-wide, because it's all hands on deck. And at the same time, we have a softball tournament going on at Centennial Park, and we have the Kids Day thing. And I think that event, to me, is what the village is all about. It brings everybody together. And I think last year, amidst COVID, we had a great turnout. And again, everything is on show. Everything's right there for you. So
yeah, and it's great because it's something that we've been doing for such a long time that it's entrenched in the community, and so everybody comes out. And something else that we've added this year that is exciting to me is we're doing veteran concerts. So we've got 4 concerts on Tuesday nights for veterans, and they're period specific. So we have World War II music on one, Korean War, Vietnam War. So please come out and support our veterans, because our veterans will be out there. So I really would implore you all to get out and support that. Well, Beau, thank you very much for coming. This has been very informative. I want to thank everyone for watching this. Hopefully this helped you. Everyone, please have a great afternoon, a great summer, and we look forward to seeing you out at our events.
Great.
All right.
Thank you.
Cool.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.